何かあったら連絡する。すぐに受話器を取れるように待機していてくれ。くれぐれも用心して。無茶なことは絶対にするんじゃないぞ。
父さんやカノン君たちが無事だっただけでも私たちも頑張る。父さんたちも。
ああ、もちろんだ。それでは一度切る。用心しろ。
With that, the phone call ended. Goda and the rest of the men quickly descended to the first floor, closed the shutters, and secured the sturdy locks in the doors. However, just as Krause had worried, there was nothing that could be done about the beautiful wide window in the first floor lounge. If someone broke that, it'd be easy to get inside. It wouldn't be hard for someone like Kinzo, who had hesitated at committing murder, to invade the first floor.
おじいさまたちは武装している可能性が高い。部屋に閉じこもるのが最善かつ唯一の籠城方法になるね。自ら密室に閉じこもらざるを得ないのは苦しいところだけど、相手が銃を持っていたらそれしか方法。
親方様は実銃のコレクションをお持ちとの話です。そう、あれは銃だ。銃だったんだとしたら恐ろしい威力の銃だ。とても太刀打ちはできません。
頭を砕くなんてマグナム弾とかそういう類のやつかもな。下手な扉なら平気で貫通するかもしれねえな。
だとすればますますに部屋に籠城するべきだね。ベッドを立てかけて窓も塞ごう。そこまですればいくら銃を持っていても踏み込むことはできないはず。
くそ、そんな受け身な防戦一方しかねえのかよ。くっしょ、うちの親父に上等を決めてくれて桐江さんまで捕まえたなんて、こいつは高くつくぞ。クソじじいめ。
無理です。あんな連中に太刀打ちできるわけがありません。
Goda, I'm gonna need you to fucking keep some composure here, alright? You're supposed to be one of the big adults around here, right? Kraus specifically said you need to supervise everyone as an adult, right? You need to keep a clear head here. It's fine if that's the way you're thinking. You need to not voice those thoughts, my dude. You need to not be voicing those thoughts. If you're supposed to be one of the guys taking charge around here, you don't tell the fucking group that, oh my god, we're so fucked, guys. There's no fucking way we can. We don't have a chance. We're so fucking screwed. Like, you don't say that if you're in charge. You gotta keep the fucking morale up, Goda. Sack the fuck up. Yeah, if you were fucking met with a magnum bullet, you're not gonna stand a chance. But you gotta fucking show some goddamn courage. Inspire the rest of them to stay motivated, my guy. Quit fucking being a little bitch.
しかも親方様だけでなく手下も何人も。あるいはあんな連中、あいつらは一体何なんだ。
Badler was filled to the brim with the urge to get revenge for Rudolph, and to rush out of here to save Kyrie. But just by looking at how terrified Goda was, there was no doubt in him that this would be reckless.
兄貴だって悔しいだろ。
Yeah, it's gotta be especially hard for George. Like, yeah, he got to talk to Shannon, but it's like Badler gets a chat with Kyrie, Jessica gets a chat with Kraus, and then George is like, what about my parents? What about my mom? What about my dad? It's like, Shannon's here. He's like, oh, Shannon. I can almost guarantee you he would have gotten on the phone and be like, Shannon, are my parents safe?
なのにここで籠城なんて。
もちろんさ、両親を殺されて冷静でいられるわけがない。でもだからこそ冷静にならなくちゃいけない。
Hell yeah.
僕たちが無駄に命を落とすようなことを殺され思うわけがない。
Hell yeah.
せめて子供だけは逃げ延びてほしいと願ってるはずだ。だから僕はそして警察に通報し全てを暴く。仇は法廷が取る。それが僕の復讐だ。差し違えてでも仇を取ってほしいなんてそうだろう。
そうだな、兄貴の言う通りだぜ。ちくしょう、クソじじいめ。何か儀式だ。俺たちがそのための生贄だって言うなら 意地でも逃げ切ってその儀式を
それでいいよ。それにバトラ君にはまだ僕にだってシャノンがいる。とにかく慎重に行動してチャンスを待とう。僕たちの不用意な行動は囚われの彼らに不利益を与える可能性だってあるんだから。
人質でもじい様はきっと俺たちが助けなきゃ殺されるのを待つだけじゃないのか。
彼らが捕らえられている地下牢がどこにあるかもわか
Yeah,
らない。
exactly. We need to rescue them, okay? Where are we rescuing them from?
シャノンもカノン君ももちろんゴーダさんも熊沢さんも知らなかった。おじい様だけしか知らない秘密の場所にある可能性がそんな状況下でうろうろと歩き回るのは自殺行為だよ。
True, true.
分かってそれでもくそ俺たちはここで何かが起こるまで引きこもってるしかねえってのかよ。
バトラ様のお気持ちは分かりますが、ここは安全第一で参りましょう。旦那様の話では相当古い牢屋らしい。なんとか鉄格子を破れるかもしれないとの。今は信じて待つ方が賢明です。
おじい様の手下が何人もいてみんな武装しているんだよね。
ええ、そうです。そして多分みんな武装を。
Thought I'd been able to say that Kinzo had comrades with him. He hadn't been able to mention that they were mostly young women, like witches, who had used strange magic to murder. If he had said that, it would have only cast doubt on his sanity. Now, not only that, he himself still couldn't understand what he had seen and was doubting his own sanity. But regardless of sex or appearance, regardless of whether it was done with magic or a gun, the fact that those girls had followed Kinzo's orders and killed 6 people in an instant was an unshakable truth. If the group came to attack the guest house as well, what would happen? Just closing the doors and windows like this was surely meaningless. Goda and Kumasawa. The only thing left for those two, who had witnessed that massacre in the dining hall, was to cradle their heads without knowing how to interpret what they had seen.
熊沢さん大丈夫？
Yeah, she's doing great.
お茶飲む？
ありがとうございますね。ありがとうござい申し訳ございませんが、しばらくそっとしていただけますか。
Maria tried to be nice, but it seemed that Kumasawa still hadn't been able to clear away her confusion.
マリア、気を使ってくれてありがとうだぜ。熊沢さんは休ませてやってくれ。
Jessica was also worried about the shock those two must have received after witnessing such a tragedy. But her wildest dreams couldn't even come close to the unbelievable scene Kumasawa had witnessed. Nevertheless, with her mother murdered and her father captured, it wasn't as though Jessica could stay calm either. She sealed her anxiety and sadness using her anger towards Kinzo, and walked irritatedly around the room.
熊沢さん、母さんは
あんなひどい死に方を私は。
ひょっとするとまだ生きてて手当てをすれば助かるなんてことはないんだよな。
Believe me, Jessica, no one wishes we could save Nazi more than I do, alright? But it's just not happening.
頭があんなことになって生きていられるわけがありません。
そりゃそうだぜ。手当てなんて必要ねえよな、普通。
When Goda had come flying into the guest house, he had overcome with agitation told about the massacre in the dining hall without concealing anything, except for the part about witches and magic, which they themselves still couldn't believe. In other words, he hadn't even sugarcoated the cold-blooded way in which Natsu and the others had died. It was too late now, but Kumasawa regretted the fact that they'd obviously said too much. However, while lightly shaking her head with a slightly painful laugh, Jessica spoke.
いや、むしろ話してくれたおかげで冷静になれたぜ。頭を砕かれちまったってところを伏せら、私はひょっとすると生きてるかも。屋敷へ向かいじい様にて食わして、ひょっとすると一抹の希望が 命取りになった可能性だってあるわけさ。その意味では
本当に申し訳ございません。言葉をあまりに選ばなかったことは。
今はいいよ。母さんはもうどうしようもないけど、父さんはまだカノン君もシャノンもキリエおばさんも南條先生もね。なんとか彼らを助けたいし、彼らに負担をかけないためにも余計なことをするべきではない。電話の前で待機してることが今は一番の協力になるかもしれないし。
They might receive a phone call asking them to create a diversion while the others escaped. Or the others might discover their location and call for rescue. Jessica understood that in order to act promptly when that time came, the only thing they could do for the time being was to wait in this room. Once they had finished inspecting the downstairs area and locking up, George, Badler, and Goto returned. Each was holding various objects. George had things like drinks, canned food, crackers, and other types of snacks he had found in the lounge and his storage room, as well as the first aid kit. They were all consumables that would be essential during a siege. Goto had a large folding ladder and carpentry tools. Those were to seal the door from the inside, just in case. If it came to it, the ladder was for escaping out the window. Badler had brought up objects that could be used as edged weapons or poles. In addition to the obvious kitchen knife, there was a disassembled table leg that could be used as a club, and a pole roughly the size of a person, which he'd apparently made by taking apart a hat stand. Even though the pole had no point, it could surely be used like a spear. There was a good chance that their enemies had guns, so it was dubious whether these would be of any use. But it was still better than not having them, and if having these could give them at least a little peace of mind, then they'd be useful for their calming effect. Then, the bed and the sofa were placed up against the door, barricading it. They didn't go so far as to seal it up with nails. There was still a chance that Kraus and the others would escape and come to meet up with them. They'd apparently set up a barricade on top of the stairs as well. It had been set up in a way that would create a racket, so it would serve as a warning alarm as well. That had apparently been Badler's idea. For that reason, they turned the TV off. This way, if the first floor window were to be broken, they would hear. Once the switch had been turned off, all that was left was an eerie silence. Yikes. Sound of violent wind and rain. Were they going to have to spend the whole night being crushed wet by such suspense? The boat would come tomorrow morning. However, judging by the weather report, most of tomorrow was going to be covered by the typhoon. The boat probably wouldn't come. The typhoon was set to pass by in the morning of the day after tomorrow. In other words, the boat would be arriving in the morning after next, the morning of October 6th. And right now it was late at night on October 4th. They would have to spend more than 30 hours on the island, with Kinzo turned cold-blooded murderer and his weird companions prowling about. Even with the shutters closed, there would definitely be a little bit of light seeping out. They might let the enemy know that they were hiding here. Badler suggested that it might be best to turn off the lights, but they had already been overwhelmed by a ghastly feeling just from turning the TV off. There wasn't anyone who directly challenged his proposal, but then again there wasn't a single other person who agreed with it.
おお、テレビダメなの？
ああ、悪いが我慢。敵の侵入の音を聞き逃すわけにはいかない。
つまんない。
Even though she had been told of her mother's death, Maria alone didn't feel an approaching sense of danger. Damn right she didn't. She's like, oh, they killed my mother? They must be great people. Let them come around. Yeah, sure. She just seemed to be upset that the TV had been turned off. Even though she's in such a bizarre situation, can she not share in our sense of danger? It's because she's so young? To Badler, even this faintly unsettling feeling from such a young girl made him sense that there was something very eerie about Maria.
とは言ったもの、万策尽きたわね。鉄格子はなんとかなりそう？
残念だが想像以上に堅牢だ。いつ頃に作られたものか知らんが、耐用年数も文句なし。実に優良な物件だよ。
Gideon chuckled softly. They had no moves they could make, but she had calmed just a little.
さながらここは取られた駒を置く
駒置き場ですな。
Oh ho.
打つ手はもはやありませんか。
まだよ。
Not yet, you say.
諦めるには早いわ。
Yeah. See, this is the kind of shit that Goto was missing. You need to inspire the people. You need to inspire the people. Like, whether Kyrie herself believes it or not, you need to inspire the people. You need to say, no, not yet. It's too early to give up. What do you mean we're out of options? We might be boned. No. It's too early to give up. Don't give up. What are you, crazy? No, we're not giving up.
思考の停止は鼓動の停止に同じよ。
だな。チェスの駒置き場に意味はないが、将棋ならば大きな意味を持つこともあ
In
る。
chess, they may be useless, but in Japanese chess, as we are Japanese citizens, well, then they're quite useful.
駒置き場の一枚の歩が相手にプレッシャーを与えることだってあるはずだ。
なるほど。しかしこの鉄格子はどうしようも。
私たちにはね。でもここの場所を特定し、合田さんに連絡することができれば。
なるほど。しかし合田さんに危険を強いること、その場合成人男性が不在になるゲストハウスのお子さんたちも不安です。
リスクを恐れるなら事態が好転するまで塩漬けにするのも悪くない。もっとも損切りを恐れれば紙切れ同然になるかもしれんがね。我々の命がだが。
親の子犬もね。私たちで何とかするからおとなしくしていなさいって偉そうに電話して、その下の根も乾かないうちに助けを求めるなんて実に格好悪いわね。
That'd be very uncool.
この後に及んではくだらんプライドなどとっくに知恵を絞ろうじゃないか。ここはどこなんだ。本当に食堂の真下なのだ、それとも屋敷とは異なる別の場所だろうか。
Kraus, Kitty, and Nanjo began to discuss this further. I mean, that's something they should have fucking asked the people on the other side, you know? Like, hey, y'all, do y'all have watches or a clock in the guest house? What time is it over there? They could have figured something out from there, you know? Because I imagine, like, someone over there has to have, like, one of the servants, maybe. Because, like, fuck, if Shannon and Kanon both had watches, I'm sure fucking Goda or Kumasawa does. And clearly they didn't get caught up with the rest of them, so they would have had... So if someone had tampered with their watches, they wouldn't have been able to, you know, do it to those two. So even if none of the grandchildren had, you know, some kind of time-telling device, I'm sure those servants did. And if not, I'm sure there were clocks in that fucking guest house. I think that's something they should ask. Like, what time is it over there for y'all? Then they would have figured out, oh yeah, either A, they did fuck with our watches and we're somewhere else, or B, they didn't fuck with our watches and it's only been, 10 minutes since there was only like a 10-minute gap between passing out and waking up. Ken was squatting by the bar silently, trying to sense anyone's presence, just as he had been ordered. Shannon came close to him. They both squatted down together.
気配は感じるの？
こちらに意識は向けていないけれど、比較的近くに誰かいる。
それは人間？
ヤギたちだと思う。あいつらの吐息は実に賑やかだよ。
Kennon's ability to sense the presence of others was several levels above that of a human. He said that their breathing was noisy, but Kraus and the rest couldn't even pick up the slightest hint of it. Therefore, if he had obediently reported it, they would have merely doubted Kennon's ears.
捕まっちゃったね。
珍しいよ。殺されないで捕まるなんて。
今回はベアトリーチェ様がお越しにならないし。
That's another thing I've noticed. Apparently, Shannon and Kanon, like, retained their memories across each game. Because that was, like, another thing that happened in the second episode, right? Like, and the third one, I believe. Where, like, they recognized... Well, yeah, the third one. Where they recognized Beatrice and who she was, and they, like, had recollections of what she had done to them prior. So, somehow, someway, Shannon and Kanon remember the events of the previous games, which is interesting.
親方様が書斎を出られるし。
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck that plays into the solution, but that's an interesting thing to note.
何が何だかわかんないね。
わかるさ。何が起ころうと変わろうと、すべてあの魔女の気まぐれと余興。
今回は黄金鏡に行けるかな。
さあね、僕たちは脱落率が高いから。
そういえば二人で第一の番を生き延びたのってずいぶん珍しいね。
Mm-hmm. Because Shannon died in the first Twilight in episode 1. What was episode 2? No, they survived the first Twilight, right? In episode 2, right? That was all the siblings. It was Natsu, Kraus, Rudolph Kirie, Eva Hideyoshi. Yeah, it was all the siblings except Rosa. Then episode 3... Canon. And Shannon. Yeah, but right, it was all the servants in the first Twilight of episode 3. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's rare. it's they're batting 50-50 at this point. They've survived episode 2 and 4, and they came out of the first Twilight together in 2 and 4, but not in 1 and 3. So I would say it's rare. You're batting 50-50. That's not bad.
儀式が始まってるのにこうして二人でお話できるなんてなんだかすごく珍しい気がする。
Not really?
そうかもね。でもそれもまた魔女の余興だろうさ。
Yeah.
僕たちがいつもすぐに脱落するから今度は少し生き延びさせて。
また黄金鏡にはたどり着けないのかな。
どうせそうさ。下手な期待を持つとまたつけ込まれる。
そうだね。前回はカノン君がつけ込まれたもんね。
Wow, way to really take a dig at my homie, didn't you? How dare you? Because of Beatrice and her tricky phrasing. She was like, yep, beat the 7 sisters. And he's like, I'll take on Lucifer. She's like, I said beat the 7 sisters.
僕はバカだ。
Kana made a sour look and turned his head. Shannon laughed softly and apologetically leaned towards his shoulder.
でもお嬢様が無事でよかったね。
第一の番を逃れただけ。それ以降の番により無残な方法で殺されるのを待たされている。それを言ったら姉さんこそジョージ様が無事でよかったじゃないか。二人で黄金鏡にたどり着けるといいね。
ありがとう。同じことをカノン君とお嬢様にも。
僕は期待はしあの魔女はご褒美をぶら下げて相手が右往左往するのを見てどうせ誰も黄金鏡に行けやしない。僕がお嬢様と黄金、あいつはそれこそ面白がって絶対に僕たちをたどり着かせたりはしないさ。
そうだね。ベアトリーチェ様はより面白くなるように生贄
無作為に選んでるなんて大嘘だ。あのペテン師魔女め。どうせ黄金鏡にたどり着けばあらゆる願いが叶うなんてのも嘘っぱ。
そんなことはないよ。黄金鏡は素晴らしいところだよ。
行ったことあるの？
ちょっぴりだけね。それすらもベアトリーチェ様の戯れだったのだろうけど。
どんなとこなのそこ？
うん、素晴らしいところだよ。うまく説明できない安らかな夢の中みたいな世界。
バラが咲き乱れてて美しい蝶が舞ってるような極楽み。
そういう具体的なイメージのところじゃないの。本当に夢の中みたいなところなの。そこにいるときはとても穏やかでいつまでも眠ってることを許されてる。まるで休日の早朝のお布団の中みたいな感じ。カーテンの隙間から日が差してきてそろそろ起きないとと思う。今日は休日だから起きなくてもいいんだって気づいてもう一回 お布団の中に潜り込む時みたいな、そんな気持ち。
僕なら損したと思うな。休日なのに勘違いして起き出すなんて姉さんくらいだ。それで
うん、そこにいた時はね、満たされててとても穏やかだった。でも元の世界に戻ってくると、つい直前までそこにいたはずなのにうまく思い出すことができないの。ついさっきまで見ていた夢が思い出せないのによく似てる。でもとっても穏やかで静かな
それだけなんだ。あいつが偉そうに言う黄金鏡なんて何でも願いが叶う場所だと思ってたのに。
その通りだよ。何でも願いが叶う場所。少し違うかもしれない。何も願わなくてもいい場所が正解。例えばカノン君が寒くて上着が欲しいと願った時、そもそも暖かい部屋にいられたなら上着が欲しいなんて願う必要さえもないでしょ。黄金鏡はそういうところなの。大抵の願いは願う必要さえなくなる。全てから解放された、何与えられて幸せという概念さえも超越した、全てから解放された世界とでも言えばいいのかな。
Damn. Okay.
なんだか宗教っぽい世界だな。
Are you trying to sell me into a cult, Shannon?
そしてそこでは全てが平等なの。意志ある存在は全てが平等。人間も家具も魔女もない。そこでの私は誰とも対等で公平。もう家具だからと何も自分を恥じる必要がない。全ての人間とも、そして魔女とさえ対等な。本当うまく思い出せないけど、そこでは私ベアトリーチェ様とさえ対等な関係で良い友達でいられた気がする。
あの魔女がいるならろくな理想郷じゃないよ。でその幸せな黄金鏡におかしな話だね。黄金鏡は全てが満ち足りた理想郷なわけでしょ。ジョージ様がいなくても十分に満たされてそうだけど。